Bright Suns, everybody. We survived episode 1 of Board Game Cantina. Now it's time to edit episode 2. We filmed it a while ago, and what I'm going to do here is just show you how easy it is to set up the project and ingest the footage. And then if it's helpful, I can do a couple other little videos to just walk you through what the other phases of the post-production process look like. So I've created an entity called a production. This is in Adobe Premiere. In Premiere, the concept of a production is basically a collection of projects, and that makes it easier for you to reuse assets from one project to another, like your intro, for example. You don't have to re-edit that every time. So I'm going to open my production, and this is just a list of the projects that I've added to it, and I need to make a new episode of the show. So I'm just going to go in here and hit new project in my episodes folder, and this is going to be episode 2. We're going to be playing the Clone Wars board game, and the cocktail we're going to be making is going to be called the Blurg Fire. And now my episode's created. It's an odd bug or weird behavior in Adobe Premiere where when you add something new to this production window, you don't see it until you close it and come back in. It's a little annoying, but just for safety, I'm going to close that, come back in, and there it is. I can see my new episode I just created. Still empty, but let's go ahead and open it. And then this window is going to give me all my assets as I start working with them. This will be my timeline. This will be my monitor where I'm seeing what I'm cutting. And then this window, I sort of rotate between a handful of different views as I'm using effects and things like that. So now that I've got my project open, it's time to bring in my source footage and my audio. So in a separate window, I've got that ready here. This is a consistent file structure I use, just to kind of keep things the same from one to the next. I don't need to bring in these other folders. Those won't get used from inside of Adobe Premiere. But I literally just click and drag them, bring them over to this panel of Premiere, and it'll sit there and process those for a moment, and then they'll be available. And I can color code them however I want to, but in my footage folder, I've got 3 subfolders. One for the discussion where we're sitting and talking with our guest, sort of the post-game discussion. And then I've got a gameplay folder where I've got all the footage from each camera of the gameplay itself. And then we've got our kitchen segment where we go into the kitchen and actually make the cocktail. So separate from that, I have audio streams from our mixer that takes all the sound coming from our mics, mixes it together beautifully without me having to do a single thing, and renders it out to a WAV file that all I have to do is pull it off of the tiny little SD card that sits in the mixer while we're recording. And in a separate video, I'll show you how I synchronize all of that, because we've got 4 cameras going on during the gameplay segment. We have a left, center, and a right camera, and then we have our overhead view of the table. So I have to be able to synchronize all of that together with the audio, and it's actually pretty easy to do. So if I just want to look at one of these clips, I'll just double click it. It shows up in my preview monitor, and then I can.
Clark was like, I even brought him in. Remember the little cage they built?
Start to play it. I can scrub around on the timeline. And see us sitting there having our cocktails after we played the game. And then if I like that, I can bring it over and drop it onto my timeline, and I can start cutting it together with my other footage. But before I do that, I'm actually going to synchronize all 4 of the cameras together with our nice audio from the mixer and make it so that we can just cut around between all of those as we need to. So hopefully this was helpful. Watch for more videos as we kind of take you through the rest of our process. May the force be with you.